I hope you enjoy my stories. Instead of just clicking thumbs down, please comment and share how we can do better. If you do like our video, then please like and subscribe.
There I stood, feeling as though I'd accidentally wandered onto the set of a comedy show. Yet eerily, there wasn't a single laugh to be heard.
Our quaint suburban corner, dominated by a select group of Karens and Darrens, apologies for the earlier Chad confusion, appeared to have appointed themselves the eternal leaders of our Homeowners Association, humorously termed the FHOA. They had just executed their most recent scheme in what I had come to refer to as our Mickey Mouse Club of an organization, leaving us feeling like mere supporting characters in their personal drama.
After their last, let's call it a unique, election, curiosity got the best of someone, and they dared to ask when the next board meeting was.
You could have heard a pin drop before the HOA president, with a smile that didn't quite reach their eyes, said, "The board will meet and discuss any new or ongoing matters outside of this annual members meeting. If anyone would like to attend these meetings, then they are welcome to be nominated and voted onto the board."
Unfortunately, our HOA doesn't have any documentation that states that board meetings have to be open to all owners. Now I'm no lawyer, but that sounded like complete hogwash to me.
Our little community is filed with the state as a non-profit, which means there are a whole heap of statutes we're supposed to follow, none of which involve secret meetings or cloaked operations.
But according to our dear leaders, since our HOA predates the invention of sliced bread, or something like that, they reckon none of the usual rules apply to us.
I've seen it firsthand.
Having been a board member myself a few times over the last decade, I quickly learned that being elected meant squat.
The same president just bulldozed over any idea that didn't match their vision, and heaven forbid, you actually tried to do something about it. They'd just pull a fast one, calling for a midterm election where votes could be as anonymous as a love letter in a library book, counted by the very people you were trying to oversee.
So this latest charade, the telephonic annual meeting, was announced with all the pomp and secrecy they could muster.
No financials shared, no budget updates. Not a whisper about the sea of issues surrounding our crumbling amenities. Just a lament over the lack of owner participation. The irony didn't escape anyone.
I couldn't shake the feeling that something had to change. But how could you fight a shadowy board that treated the HOA like their personal kingdom?
Maybe it was time for a not-so-secret meeting of our own, a gathering of owners tired of being sidelined in decisions affecting our homes and our lives.
Sure. It would be no small feat going up against the Karens and Darrens of the world, but something in me sparked at the thought.
After all, they might have had their secret meetings and Mickey Mouse regulations, but we had numbers on our side.
And maybe, just maybe, it was time those numbers counted for something. So I started reaching out, quietly at first, to gauge interest. The response was more enthusiastic than I could have hoped. It seemed I wasn't the only one who'd had enough. In the spirit of those old-school rebellion movies, it felt like we were plotting in the shadows, a motley crew of homeowners united by a common cause.
We knew the road ahead would be tough, tangled in legalese and the Karens and Darrens' stubborn grip on power. But there was a sense of determination in the air, a collective agreement that it was time to bring a bit of democracy back to our little corner of the world. Funny, isn't it? They wanted us to stay out of their board meetings, but they might have just pushed us into the most important meeting of all, one where we weren't just extras, but the main characters, ready to take back the script.
Honestly, thinking back on the whole Friendsgiving saga feels like revisiting a chaotic chapter of my life. But in a good way, I guess. You see, back in November, when the air starts to chill and everyone's in that holiday mood, I thought, hey, why not throw a Friendsgiving?
It seemed like a brilliant idea at the time. My apartment, while it's cozy, definitely doesn't have the space to host a big gathering.
So the plan was to rent out the conference room in my building. It felt all sophisticated and adult-like. However, as luck would have it, things took a wild turn just when I thought we had everything under control. Instead of the conference room, we had to shift the whole shebang to the pool area. Now, don't get me wrong, the pool area is nice and all, but it wasn't exactly November weather friendly. Plus, the vibe I was going for was more intimate gathering than pool party. To add to the chaos, My buddy, who was supposedly helping me get this thing off the ground, decided it was open season on invites. Suddenly, we went from a cozy group to what felt like a mini festival crowd. Now, here's where it gets a tad more stressful.
I'm all for bending the rules a bit, but straight up breaking them, not so much.
So I tried doing the responsible thing by getting in touch with my landlord. I must have called him enough times to fill up his voicemail for the next century, trying to get a straight answer about whether the pool area was fair game for our event. But man, trying to get a clear yes or no out of him was like trying to get water from a stone.
In the end, with no definitive thumbs down from the landlord, we decided to just go for it.
We were extra careful though. Made sure everything was above board, at least not blatantly against the rules. We kept the music down, made sure we weren't disturbing the peace, especially after 10 p.m. Looking back, it feels like we pulled off a minor miracle considering how off the cuff everything was. It really was a Friendsgiving to remember, complete with last-minute changes, a dash of rule bending, and a whole lot of good vibes. Sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches, you know? Fast forward to the aftermath, and it's January. Here I am, minding my own business, when I get slapped in the face with this absolutely insane letter from the HOA.
These guys are coming after me for $1,500. Can you believe it? They're saying that because I had guests over and they counted 24 chairs around the pool. They're assuming I hosted 24 people. And for each one of those guests, they're hitting me with a $60 fine. But it gets crazier. They're accusing me of all sorts of stuff. Profanity, excessive noise, and even smoking. And they claim to have proof?
But guess what? They won't show me a shred of it. Not a photo, not a statement, nothing.
It's like they pulled it all out of thin air.
And here's the kicker, the biggest joke of it all. This so-called $60 per person fine.
It's not even mentioned in the HOA guidebook.
I've read that thing cover to cover, and all it mentions is a vague $60 fine for code violations. There's absolutely nothing about fines per guest at the pool.
It feels like they're just making up the rules as they go along, trying to squeeze every penny out of me.
So now I'm stuck here wondering how on earth this got so out of hand.
It was just a simple get-together with some friends, nothing wild.
And now dealing with this mess has become the unexpected start to my new year.
It's just ridiculous.
So here I am, scratching my head, trying to wrap it around the fact that I've landed in this incredibly frustrating situation. Honestly, it's making me question everything. The entire scenario feels super unfair, and to add salt to the wound, the lack of transparency is driving me up the wall.
Why won't they just show me the evidence they supposedly have against me? It's shady if you ask me.
Then there's this charge per person, no less, that seems like it was plucked right out of thin air.
Seriously, where did they even come up with this? The idea that my landlord might have to fork over $1,400 because of this mess is giving me major anxiety. It doesn't sit right with me at all.
But when I sit down and think about it, without any real proof, and considering how random and baseless this charge appears, I can't help but wonder if they really have any solid ground to stand on. I mean, come on, shouldn't there be some sort of common sense rule that comes into play here? I did everything by the book, at least I thought I did, and now I'm stuck feeling like I'm being targeted for. I don't even know what. It's like being in a bizarre movie where the plot doesn't make sense.
It's about time I take some action. Maybe seek out a legal expert or someone who's had their own battle with their HOA.
Though ignoring this whole circus seems tempting deep down, I know that's probably not the smartest move. But then again, the thought of shelling out money for a fine that screams "I made up" feels equally wrong.
Starting the year with this hanging over my head?
Not exactly what I had in mind. It's shaping up to be one heck of a ride, and honestly, I could have done without this drama. At the heart of a burgeoning legal battle in Prince George's County, Maryland, lies a simple but profoundly divisive question. Should access to a public road be predicated on one's financial capability to live in the adjoining community?
This question has propelled a federal lawsuit into the spotlight, underscoring a contentious debate over public access rights versus private community privileges. The lawsuit emanates from the Woodmore community, a gated enclave known for its affluence, which is nestled near Mitchellville. Here, Pleasant Prospect Road, a horseshoe-shaped artery encircled by the trappings of luxury, including a golf course, serves as the only throughway. Two individuals, Kimberly Jackson and Brent Taliaferro, have found themselves at odds with a system that seemingly gatekeeps based on socioeconomic status, prompting them to take legal action. Jackson, who visits a friend within the subdivision, and Taliaferro, an assistant golf pro at the country club in Woodmore, assert that the community's exclusivity measures infringe upon their right to freely access a public road. They argue that the barricades, both physical and financial, installed by the Pleasant Prospect Homeowners Association, represent a form of discrimination, a sentiment echoed in their court filings.
At the crux of their grievance is an electronic barrier positioned on the east end of Pleasant Prospect Road.
This setup allows subdivision residents easy ingress with a swipe of their keycards, a convenience denied to those outside this privileged circle. Conversely, the Western approach demands an encounter with a gatehouse where a representative scrutinizes each visitor's rationale for entry. The process, as per the plaintiffs, embodies a needless and demeaning hindrance. The simmering discontent was further stirred by a decision in September 2023, when the Homeowners Association opted to enforce a recurring $50 monthly fee on non-resident gate card usage, a move that disproportionately affects those like Jackson and Taliaferro, who frequent the area for personal and professional reasons. Their lawsuit, a 4-count salvo, levels accusations of access denial, discriminatory practices, and an overarching obstruction of their right to traverse freely on what is fundamentally a public roadway. They seek not just the dismantlement of the physical and financial barriers, but also reparations for the alleged injustices endured. Legal documents pinpoint the Pleasant Prospect Homeowners Association, Prince George's County, County Executive Angela Alsobrooks, and Michael Johnson, head of the county's Department of Public Works and Transportation, as defendants. This broad net aims to challenge a situation that, according to the lawsuit, fell short of adhering to required procedures for privatizing what is, ostensibly, a public resource. The backdrop to this legal endeavor is a narrative of contested space, where notions of security and exclusivity clash with ideals of public access and equality. The Homeowners Association defends the contested mechanisms as bulwarks of security, beneficial even to those who chafe under their restrictions. This defense is captured in a letter to residents circulated by the HOA's board, which frames the lawsuit as an overblown reaction to what it considers to be minor issues. Concurrently, the Office of County Executive Angela Alsobrooks has opted for silence on the matter, adhering to a policy of not commenting on ongoing litigation. This stance, while typical, leaves unanswered questions about the county's role and responsibilities in the genesis and perpetuation of this controversy.
As the case awaits its day in court, absent yet of a set hearing date, its implications ripple outward.
Beyond the immediate parties involved, this lawsuit raises fundamental questions about the balance between private community desires for security and the public's right to access. It also touches on broader themes of discrimination, social stratification, and the ethos of shared spaces in a society increasingly segmented by economic lines. The resolution of this case could set precedents affecting not just the residents of Prince George's County, but potentially influencing gated communities and public access issues nationwide. As it unfolds, it invites a deeper reflection on what constitutes public space, and who gets to decide the terms of its accessibility, challenging us to consider the delicate interplay between privacy, privilege, and the public good. In essence, the dispute over Pleasant Prospect Road transcends the local context, casting a spotlight on the intersection of civil liberties, community governance, and the often contentious demarcations of public versus private spaces in American society. As the legal process grinds forward, the outcome of this case might very well redefine the contours of access and exclusion in the suburban landscapes of the United States.
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. to encourage us to make more videos. Please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.